When I was informed that I'd be given the opportunity to stand here on this red carpet to bring forth a message, I thought, what could I possibly say that would be of importance to you? It took me through a journey where I found the space filled with everything that I know to this point, and it all accumulated down to one story. I want to tell you that story. It's a story about a young girl from the rural Rwanda who found her way at 8 years old. In the midst of the most worrying moments in her life, which came to shape the way she would lead her life, act, and the human she would become. I also want to tell you a story about time. How time shapes us, sharpens us, and gives us opportunity to be our very best. And how grief can transform sorrow and despair into a lifelong creation of light. And how love can turn the most simplest thing as losing someone into a journey where you can find the best things that you know in life. My name is Victoire Musana. I was born on November Day in 1998, just 4 years after the genocide in Rwanda. I came up to grow up not knowing my past, history of origin, as my mother had kept the most haunted memories of her past away, so my siblings and I could live normal lives. Yet since we left our country, my life has been far from what is considered normal. One of my earliest memories in life is a morning day in Kigali, Rwanda, in a house my father had built with his bare hands. I woke up that day not knowing that this day my whole life would change. Yet I could feel the changes taking place as my mother was giving away all our belongings to strangers and family members from afar. The house, the white car, even the smallest item that added a sense of home, now to a very empty house. On this day, my young mind could not grasp that we were moving to some far destination, what that would mean or where. A couple of months prior to this day, we were a family of 7. Now we were 5. This was the day my mom packed everything she could and left everything she had ever known to make a way for us to get a decent education. That is one of the last wishes my father had before he passed away. I was 3 years old. Between my earliest memories in life and turning 9, I developed a serious concern that I would die when I turned 9 years old, because one of my earliest siblings, who was 5 years older than me, had died of malaria. So from the point I was 6 years old to the very day of my 9th year birthday, I thought my life would end. This led to one of the most shattering days filled with worry, anxiety, and fear that this day could so very be my last, I thought. So I better use this day, I began to think, to find something worth the time. Every second, every day was a value, and I would not squander ideas as nothing, but would cherish them in all their magnitude. Relationships became important, and time, the most valuable asset I had a hold of. The way I see it is that it was about pure luck to be born in the aftermath of the war. And when I did turn 9, it was as if a veil opened. My life didn't end. I suddenly had the rest of my life in front of me. Yet in our home, the rule was, the past is the past, that we don't talk about. The principle became to move forward, no matter what, and through this we managed. Regular problems became irrelevant. When I close my eyes, however, and think of my childhood, I don't see struggles or despair or houses where things would break. I think of the joy and laughter we shared. I think of the generous hearts present. And regardless of the adversity in my childhood, I knew that I was fortunate to be alive and healthy, to go to school every day and learn, and to have siblings and a mother who cared for me, who also was healthy and alive. I was a very peculiar child, serious but strange enough not to go by as normal. In class, I would ask questions upon questions. Some teachers knew what to do with me, others, well, they merely managed, to say the least. On the inside, however, I was a very scared child too. I took every moment very seriously and could not ponder or leave an question unanswered. Although I began to develop a rather optimistic and hopeful life perspective, there was a time I questioned the very existence of my own. It came down to looking at my own life perspective, my own life, in the face, and the challenges that I have faced in the face. And one of the things that I remember is that I suddenly began to ask, why am I here? But instead of asking such a tormenting question, I began to ask, what can I do while I'm still here? When I was 12 years old, I got my first real job. I got really excited. Okay, I got this. I thought, God, paper girl. I worked 3 months and quit. And as I managed to get enough money to buy myself a personal computer. And from that point, working became a part of my being. I worked through most part-time jobs imaginable, in a restaurant, interviewer, writer, and even recently in a nursing home. I got my wings to fly through the hardship work of my father and the courage and braveness of my mother, who I owe everything that I know and everything that I ever experienced to them and everyone that have ever played a role in my life. I was, however, in my upbringing, constantly drifting, never setting land, moving from south to north, west to east, and neighborhood to neighborhood. Sometimes this drifting, always in motion, took me to some very exciting islands. But sometimes, most time, this drifting took me far out to the sea. And moreover, I lose track of land. Maybe because I never really had a safe shore, a place to call home, my home. I found it easier to just drift and let life take me anywhere that I saw. And whenever I saw a tide, I would move towards it and just get close enough to make sure that I could jump over it and stare in a different direction, I like to think. I came to learn to see the world through many different lenses, through the people that I met along the way. And in that process, I found a gift no salary can buy. The gift of giving and the act of service. When I was 18, I realized that, as time showed me, that I had neglected a part of me, which I discovered long before I could articulate myself properly, but chose to shove away because I was afraid to take on a path that I had been granted but did not request, a clear destination which I felt in my bones. Sometimes I wished that I didn't have the answers of my life direction as clear as night and day, an early age. Because all I really ever longed for was answers, an explanation of my father, of my heritage. Because maybe then I could figure out my future. And not being given the answer I longed for many, many years, the only way to move became, in fact, forward. So I began to find what I could do. Maybe I could do something with this time, even though I did not know my past. So I began to focus on the future, which is what I had control of. The enlightenment of knowing and doing things that I did not know yesterday have driven me to paths that I could have never imagined crossing. From starting a blog to becoming a published writer, becoming a manager in an international organization, and starting a nonprofit organization. These things I didn't think I had to do, but I felt it. And in one way or another, that became one of the reasons that I saw healing in myself. You know, I got a question asked a couple of days ago. And a friend of mine, she said, But how did you deal with that grief? We didn't. So through the actions that I have taken, that became my way. I came to see that I have the possibility to make something out of my time, the time that I have been fortunate to call my own for a very short span. But not only do I see that I have the possibilities to make this, but we all have the possibilities to pass time forward and use our talents to bring something extraordinary into the world. Through exploring ideas, world endeavors, and giving ourselves without remorse. This is what we have. The presence is the only thing we truly have. And in that moment, our presence is the most valuable asset, and our heart's the greatest gift we can give. The sad story about ideas is that when we die, we take all our unexplored ideas and thought with us. It is then our honor to share those ideas, however small, with the world. Why, you might ask? Because life is a fragile gift. It can be bent and transformed in a shift of moment. It can be blown away by wind in a blink. You see, I never really got to know my father. And I never really got to talk to my sister either. Until this day, I wonder, have I made him proud? Have I honored the life that she could have lived? What I have learned through the last decade of my life are these three things. 1, love. Love with every second, every day you have. Love through you are moved, and through love you can touch people with your being. Living a life of good fortune is a living. Living a life where we partake in the giving is the very foundation of a meaningful and fruitful life. Because it is only through giving and loving ourselves, our fellow human beings, other beings, and respecting our home, we can truly understand what we can give. Secondly, in life, we're free to bend the rules of our realities, of our imagination. If you be so fortunate to live to tomorrow, you're in line of many choices. We can alter even the most daunting memories of our past and transform them into wonderful, splendid, candid gifts. We can alter the most shattering caves into a sound, into a music, a hum that sings when we are gone. What you have created is what you leave behind. What you have cultivated is what you can cultivate. And what you have given, be given, is what you can give. And lastly, you and I are only here temporary. It is then our greatest honor to make this life that we have been given the most spectacular journey we possibly can. With our bare hands and feet, we stand on this earth, on this plateau we call home, for a short span of universal history. It is by chance that we are born, and it is by chance that we stay alive, actually. It is, however, by force we choose to proceed. What we do, what we live for, alive, that is up to us to decide. And all mystical left aside, what do you want to accomplish in this life? Who do you want to become? Dare to think and ask for the future you want to see. And dare to create a becoming, regardless of purpose and direction, and let that be your anchor. I feel that there's so much to be said about the story of the girl and time, which can't be said in 80 minutes, which is now coming to an end. But what I want to leave you with this talk that I have been so fortunate to be given is this one thing. With our remaining time, what we do, we are free to bend the rules of our realities, what we be for others, and what we leave behind, what you crave for yourself, and what you are for yourself. And regardless of the time that we have left going onward, let's do something more. Let's dare to live louder. I feel that is the gift of time, and truly an idea worth sharing. Thank you.